Best conference in college football? Well, the Big Ten will take another shot at that status here in 2023 after falling short in 2022. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. We break down the game we all love each and every day with you. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Let us prove it. Watch our videos, check out the live streams, and then you will subscribe and hit the like button. All right, let's go through our Big Ten post-spring power rankings. Let's start with the obvious number 14. Northwestern, wow. They won this division in the Big Ten West 2 out of 3 years. And Pat Fitzgerald has done mostly a remarkable job at Northwestern, of course. But for the last 2 years, they've been awful, atrocious. I don't even have a word for it. Actually, at 4-20, they're losing to FCS teams and MAC teams. Awful. A.J. Henning seems to be a bit of a savior, but consider he could not start or get meaningful time at wide receiver at Michigan, but he is the most recent transfer portal addition, and he has talent. Of course, in the return game, he has shown us that. You also have Ben Bryant coming in at quarterback from Cincinnati, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions last season. Cam Johnson, nice season a couple years ago at Vandy, experienced wide receiver, had 56 catches in 2020. Our number 14 team in the Big Ten, well, they've been living there in the basement for the last couple of years. It's Northwestern. All right, at number 13, we go to another hapless situation as it currently stands, and that's Greg Schiano's Rutgers Scarlet Knights. The situation he took over was, of course, abysmal. They had lost 21 consecutive games in the Big Ten, and most of those games by 40 and 50 points. Of course, this is his second stint in Piscataway. The first stint averaged 8 wins per season from 2005 through 11, but of course in a watered-down Big East, now he's got to face the big boys in the Big Ten, and he has improved the program. There's no question about that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But this offense was putrid this past season. They averaged 13 points per game, only scored 21 points plus twice. That 13-point total, throw out the Wagner game, the FCS school, the first game. They do have a new and proven offensive coordinator in Kirk Shiraka. Gavin Wimsatt, probably the starting quarterback, will battle incoming transfer Nassim Brantley from Western Illinois. Our number 13 team in the Big Ten, Rutgers. I think we can officially put Tom Allen on the hot seat for 2023. Our number 12 team in the Big Ten is Indiana. Hoosiers coming off 2 dismal seasons in the Big Ten at 2-7 and 0-9 2 years ago. He's overhauling the roster, trying to make a go of it here in 2023 with 21 transfers. You don't see that number out of anyone outside of Deion Sanders and any other first-year head coach, and even most of them not 21 transfers. They bring in Christian Turner, former Michigan back who went to Wake Forest, gained over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. Jack Tuttle's gone, their backup quarterback. They will most likely go with, of course, Dexter Williams, who played down the stretch in relief of Connor Bazelak. Emory Simmons, their top receiver, has gone to Utah. Indiana, the number 12 team in the Big Ten. What is going on in East Lansing? Mel Tucker came in. He overhauled the roster. He had a rough COVID year in 2020. Not a big deal at 2-5. Then, of course, the big Peach Bowl season with Kenneth Walker Jr. at running back. All right, well, since then, it's been downhill for Michigan State. Of course, only 5 wins last season. They did play a little bit better down the stretch against quality competition. However, on the same day last week, Peyton Thorne, a starting quarterback for 2 years, gone. He has found a home at Auburn, and also leading wide receiver Keon Coleman, 58 catches, 7 touchdowns, gone. That is going to be difficult to replace. Noah Kim seems to be handed the starting position at quarterback, but he's got very limited experience. 13 transfers come in. Not much in terms of impact players you would expect based on their past experience, basically depth pieces for Mel Tucker and Michigan State. Our number 11 team in the Big Ten, Spartans. Purdue and Jeff Brom broke through with a Western Division championship in 2022. Unfortunately for Purdue, of course, Jeff Brom is gone. And so is his quarterback, Aiden O'Connell, who lit up Big Ten defenses over the past few seasons. Also, Charlie Jones, who caught about 110 passes. Payne Durham at tight end, one of the best in the country. Corey Trice said, yeah, Purdue lost a ton of talent, and they've got an unproven head coach in one Ryan Walters, but he comes in as defensive coordinator at Illinois, where he did a remarkable job there. He's young, he's energetic, he's ready to take it on, and he's got an interesting ball team that's taking in 14 transfers. So, again, the big names leave the program. However, if you look at this transfer list, there are some intriguing players there that could contribute. 8 coming in from the Power 5. Most of them contributed, weren't star players, but contributed with those particular teams. You got Corey Gamage in particular, 178 receptions at Marshall. And, of course, the quarterback situation. Hudson Card was a good player at Texas. He can run around, a very different quarterback than Aiden O'Connell. Our number 10 team in the Big Ten is Purdue. Well, we know Nebraska is upgraded at the head coaching position. No question, Scott Frost just was overmatched and did not get the job done. Why he turned into a different guy than what we saw coaching offense and coordinating an offense at Oregon. Then, of course, the tremendous undefeated run at UCF. I thought he was the guy for the job. Most didn't turn out. But you've got a head coach now that knows how to run a program at a big-time level. Former NFL coach with the Carolina Panthers, of course, Matt Rule. Resurrected Temple, brought them from a place of 2 wins to a conference championship game. Then you've got him at Baylor, of course. He lifted them to a conference championship game and a Sugar Bowl win, and they were down and out at 1-11. So he can turn it around and turn it around rather quickly. He has a less daunting task at Nebraska when it comes to talent, roster, ability, resources. Everything involved at Nebraska is ready-made to compete in this division right now. And now he's decided on his quarterback. Casey Thompson, of course, the starter last season, off to FAU. Jeff Sims, the starting quarterback, didn't have a great run at Georgia Tech statistically, but you got to consider Jeff Sims almost always took the field with less talent around him than what he faced in the ACC. Does pick up a commodity, a wide receiver. Billy Kemp's the 4th leading receiver in the history of Virginia football. Eric Gilbert, probably the most talented, is the former 5-star tight end who got off to a great start in his career at LSU in 2020 with 35 catches and a freshman All-American status. However, he's been completely AWOL since. I don't know if his head's going to be in the game. Played in the spring game. We'll see if he can contribute at tight end. Our number 9 team in the Big Ten, post-spring, is Nebraska. I'm a believer in Brett Bielema. The man can coach. At Arkansas, did a better job than what the typical narrative is across college football nation. Of course, at Wisconsin, 3 consecutive Big Ten championships and Rose Bowl appearances. All right, he comes to Illinois. Bad roster, bad program, little optimism or hope or enthusiasm there in Champaign, and he's turned it around. They went from a bad football team to a really capable team 2 years ago. They beat Penn State. They beat Minnesota. They went 5-7. And then last year, they were better than that 8-5 record. Lost on the last play of the game to Mississippi State. Had some rough losses down the stretch. Of course, they were the one team that took Michigan to the wire in the Big House. But the losses to Illinois probably hurt more than any other team in the Big Ten. They lost their quarterback, Tommy DeVito, who tried to get a red shirt to play this next season, but was denied by the NCAA. Brian Hightower, one of their top receivers, leaves. 37 receptions, goes out west. Chase Brown, leading rusher in the Big Ten, top 2 in the nation, gone. His brother, actually a better NFL prospect, Sidney Brown, gone. And, Devin Witherspoon, who was a finalist for the Thorpe Award. Jartavius Martin, one of the best secondary guys in the nation as well. They lost a ton of talent. Luke Altmaier, a key at quarterback, Illinois, will fight. They will be in games and will be a difficult out, but I don't expect them to contend in the Big Ten. Too many losses. But then again, there's no elite team in the Big Ten, so it's anyone's guess, as always, in the Big Ten West. It should be a fun season in the Big Ten West. One more go-around before 2024 in the balanced scheduling with most likely no divisions. Our number 8 team in the Big Ten is Illinois. P.J. Fleck in Minnesota come in at number 7, our post-spring rankings here in 2023. They lost a veteran quarterback in Tanner Morgan. However, despite that one breakout year where he had the NFL wide receivers, Johnson and Bateman, 30 touchdown passes, Tanner Morgan was a marginal quarterback, and I think they've upgraded despite the inexperience of Aiden Kalikimanis. PJ Fleck doing a better job than he's given credit for. Another 9-4 season. They're 29-10 in their last 3 full seasons at Minnesota. They didn't bring in a great recruiting class, though. PJ Fleck had upgraded the recruiting considerably, but this past recruiting class, not good at number 51. They did bring in 10 transfers. Nobody really there that we expect to be a huge upgrade. Mo Ibrahim, of course, one of the best backs in the history of the Big Ten, has gone off to the NFL. At number 7, the Gophers of Minnesota. On a steady climb through the Big Ten Eastern Division are the Terps of Maryland. How about this? Had not had a winning season since they had entered the Big Ten. Then 2 years ago, 7-6 after a bowl win. Then another bowl victory, this time against a pretty good NC State team. Mark one up for Mike Locksley. They finished at 8-5. Talia Tagovailoa is arguably the best quarterback left in the Big Ten. And this program is on the rise. They're recruiting well, which they've always had that potential. And DJ Durkin had good recruiting classes. Of course, the DMV loaded with talent. And Mike Locksley proving to be a better head coach than I gave him credit for, at least at this stage of the game. Maryland looking to continue their upward ascent after 8 wins in 2022. Our number 6 team in the Big Ten, the Terps, on Wisconsin. And on to the Luke Fickell era. Our 5th-rated team in the Big Ten following spring practice is Wisconsin. All right, the Luke Fickell era begins. We know what he did at Cincinnati. He is an excellent head football coach. I believe that he was the best coaching hire of the offseason. At quarterback, Graham Mertz off to Florida. Of course, Tanner Mordecai comes in from SMU. He most likely will be the guy. Nick Evers not ready. The incoming quarterback, highly rated 4-star a couple years ago from Oklahoma. But Tanner Mordecai, 33 touchdowns, 10 picks. Now, he almost threw 10 picks in the spring game. People are making a lot out of that. I don't know if that's necessarily meaningful. Phil Longo taking over the offense. It's going to be highly interesting to see what they do with this because there's so much talk about speed and space and spreading people out and just playing a completely overhauled offense. However, the strengths on the roster are offensive line and Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, first down, second down. You know, you can't get enough of Braylon Allen. He's one of the great running backs in college football. And Luke Fickell, despite a good roster that he took over, they did lose some through the NFL draft, of course, especially on defense, where this team is always rock solid, but they lose Jim Leonard, arguably the best defensive mind in college football. So Luke Fickell brings in 13 transfers. Our number 5 team, post-spring in the Big Ten, Badgers. We could argue that this team is the least entertaining on the field and the most entertaining off the field running the program. That's Iowa at number 4. Kirk Ferentz, of course, the dean of Big Ten coaches, brings in a veteran quarterback. All right, we know that the offense is atrocious, has been forever, but still Brian Ferentz continues to hold a job and also receive bonus benefits, possibly some incentives there for Brian Ferentz that any team in the Big Ten should be able to match. This team has won 7 games forever. And, of course, that's part of the bonus incentive. We won't get into that. Of course, we've touched on it many times. Cade McNamara comes in as starting quarterback. Not a game changer, not a dynamic player, not an NFL starting quarterback. I don't see it. However, for this team, in this situation, leadership, proper decision-making, mobility, he's just a plus across the board that should make, if they do nothing different on offense, Cade McNamara will make them better on offense, significantly better. Best quarterback since Jake Rudock, not more talented than Nathan Stanley, but maybe better. Eric All comes in to replace, to a certain extent, Sam Laporta at tight end. Of course, Luke Lachey will also bolster that position that they're going to rely on heavily, as they always do. But the wide receiver, we know, is a sore spot for this team. Caleb Brown, the incoming player at wide receiver from Ohio State, of course, has got 1 pass. He's probably the most anticipated wide receiver transfer in the country for somebody who's caught 1 pass. But a top 75 player overall in his recruiting class. The offensive line has to get better. It's supposed to be a calling card at Iowa. It has not been good in recent years. CBS Sports recently named Phil Parker the best defensive coordinator in the country. Yes, he is. They got to replace Jack Campbell and Lucas Van Ness and company up front. But I feel good about Iowa's defensive effort. As always, in the special teams, of course, return the two great specialists. Iowa's our number 4 team in the Big Ten. Is this the year Penn State breaks through the Ohio State-Michigan wall in the Big Ten Eastern Division? Of course, James Franklin did that in 2016. But since then, it's been a lot of heartbreaking losses to the Buckeyes, who have obviously dominated the division until 2 years ago. And Penn State throttled by Michigan last year. They get Michigan at home, and they get them with a quarterback of Drew Allar's ability. So Sean Clifford had a tremendous run. He doesn't get enough credit. No question about that. Sean Clifford had a great career at Penn State, won a ton of games, won a ton of big games, won a ton of big bowl games. Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and so forth. Anyway, you got Nick Singleton and Katron Allen in the backfield, but what is important with these freshmen that you would expect to get even better than they were last season is that they've got what Penn State media is calling the best offensive line group in Happy Valley since the Joe Paterno era. That could hold the entire key, because this is probably, if not the best defense in the Big Ten, it's the most athletic, the most NFL-ready defense, despite the losses of guys like Jair Brown and Joey Porter. Penn State at number 3 in the Big Ten. Okay, we're down to 2. Is that Ohio State talent? They've got the better roster talent than Michigan. Nobody can debate that. But Michigan whipped them last year for a second consecutive season. They're the Big Ten champs. They got the returning starting quarterback. They're going to play at home against the Buckeyes. So is it Ohio State or Michigan? Well, the number 2 team right now, until proven otherwise, is Ohio State. Jim Knowles, you're on the spot. Yes, the defense was improved, but you got 4 and 5 stars. Now, the defense has not been stockpiled like the offense in terms of recruiting. They're talented enough to be a top 10 defense in the country. So no excuses there, but not as stockpiled. Need to improve the recruiting on defense, but still a lot of interesting players there that could emerge. Sonny Styles, C.J. Hicks. The linebacking core played better last year than it's played since probably 2016. Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers were phenomenal, but the secondary, what has happened to Ohio State secondary play? DBU, this has been for a time was the best NFL factory in the secondary, but not in recent years since Urban Meyer left. They get some reinforcements to the aforementioned secondary with Davis Obignosin from Ole Miss, and then also Jahad Carter coming in from Syracuse, 2 really good players. It rests on the quarterback and the offensive line on offense, of course. The running backs loaded. Offensive skill position players across the board loaded. Wide receivers, of course, the best in the country. Kyle McCord, is he going to be the next Barrett Haskins, Fields, Stroud? All phenomenal, all pulled through, no experience. I keep hearing this inexperience, and it's true. No experience. However, those other guys did not have meaningful snaps either, and they turned into the best quarterback in the Big Ten. All right, so a lot of questions for a top 4 team, but basically it's secondary, offensive line, quarterback. But that's 3 more than the number 1 team, and that's Michigan. I've got no questions about Michigan. That doesn't mean that they're a super team or they're the best team in the country. They just don't have any issues that I can see. Offensive line stout. Not that they haven't lost anyone. They lost the best center in the country, but the best 1-2 punch in the backfield. The wide receivers aren't great. The wide receiver room leaves a lot to be desired. But the defense is rock solid. Brought in Josiah Stewart to help the pass rush, step it up there. Now, this recruiting class that's going on right now that everybody's excited about, Maize and Blue, obviously isn't going to be on the field until 2024. Let's remember that the previous recruiting class was barely top 20 in the nation. And so their rivals brought in a much better, at least on paper, array of talent this past offseason. J.J. McCarthy should get better. People make fun of him for his 2 pick sixes in the playoffs. However, he only threw 5 all season. So J.J. could get better. He's going to have a full offseason. He did not have that this time last year as he was battling injuries and surgery, trying to get healthy. But he's got the full offseason as the starter, getting ready for 2023. The number 1 team in the Big Ten is Michigan. All right. leave your comments down below as we run down the Big Ten. That's our post-spring rankings. However, that's not a prediction. That's where we stand right now. Again, leave your comments down below. Support us right here with a like and with a comment. And please subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football.